Ooh, it's that time again. Hey, y'all. Let me get comfortable. You can't see my jewelry, but I wanted to talk about sex today and what we need to know. And of course, I have to go back and look at what the kids were talking about, or excuse me, not the kids. Yeah, the kids, half my age, I guess, on what sexual intelligence is and what have we learned new. And it's a little disappointing, but it was a good start because the young lady who had the TED Talk was really talking about permission to ask questions. Hey, Miss Karen, how you doing, girl? Oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in forever and a day. Kimberly, Miss LaRue. I went to school with a Miss LaRue. I can't hit the button. Sorry, y'all. I make a mess when I do that. So let me just be long and just wave and talk at you. So it's time to talk about what have we learned about our sexualities. And I want to get right into it because it's a lot. And I'm really having fun because I was going back over my old notes and I went, ooh, I've learned so much more since then. And I had to go to my book. And so you're really getting the 5th chapter of my book, From Owning Masculinity. And it is on male anatomies, right? But have both, I know both sexes, so I can cover a few areas there. So it's been a really long journey. I need to go back and tell you how this came up for me as I needed to focus on this as work. If you haven't heard the story from me, let me do them real quick. At 5, and this is on my website at phyllisraleigh.com, but at 5 I had my first orgasm, not by abuse, but by self-discovery. And I had the hallelujah moment. And I call that my first kundalini, because when it's like that first one is incredible, you're just like, wow, this is, forget Santa Claus, baby, this is good. And the experience just kept me curious. That became my first fetish, learning about ourselves sexually. And I didn't realize this body had all this power, and I just went, look what I got here. So I've been, ever since then, focus on, well, what do we know about ourselves? How do these bodies work? And how come they're not telling us everything? Because when I, as a young, good Catholic girl, at communion or confirmation, I think it was confirmation, I asked the priest, well, I kept getting in trouble for asking priests too many questions because these were the guys that were supposed to know, right? My parents told me to read in a book. And so I had Masters and Johnson and Kinsey reports around the house and Playboys under Dad's side of the bed, but I didn't really get it. And I was like, oh, this is kind of complicated. And that was stats. And I'm 5 years old. I can't really read that well, but I could figure out the picture. So I remember menopause was one of the words I just kind of went, men, and pause. I went, what does that have to do with women? But it was one of the early words I got stuck on. But I think it was telling a message to men, you ain't getting no more, bro, pause. I don't dare jest. Let me get to it. So with the research, and what I had asked the priest was, well, what if Eve hadn't eaten the apple? That was the first question. He said, well, some other woman would have done it. And I went, okay, you ain't got some answers that I can do anything with. And you know, the choices that we make as humans, how come, and who influences us, and who influences us to make decisions, because that's really what matters. And one of the things I've learned, and it's like late for me coming into my gifts, which is a good thing, because I remember something my dad said to me, don't peak too early. Peak at the end of your life, not at the beginning of your life, because then it becomes very disappointing after that peak. And I went, ooh, that's some advice. So I remember that, and I just went, okay, I'll just keep learning and keep acquiring and keep gaining knowledge so that I can do something with it or use it to have a good end. So that's what got exciting for me, was looking at what can I learn about ourselves? And then when I learned the job of the oracle was know thyself, I went, well, yeah, know thyself more, because this is kind of the bottom line of we're here to play this experience, life, matrix, game, prison, whatever you call it. We're in it. So what are we supposed to do? How are we supposed to get the excuse me, take advantages of what we know and apply it to ourselves. Because you know what Putin does or what Trump tweets doesn't really affect me. And because he's there and I'm here. So there's a realm of influence. And those bigger realms of pollutions, et cetera, I've covered those. Yeah, those are real. Environmental, sexism, racism, they're real. Don't get me wrong. But today, that's not my issue. Today is talking about how do I improve my own sexual intelligence and be better at what I do, love, think, share, exist, be in. So that's what I want to talk about today. And first I want to go back over some of the anatomy parts of it. So we need to start there and looking at the anatomy. And where am I going to start? Ooh, there's so much to start with. So let's start with something I've learned recently about disappearing twins and the nature of sexuality. So we got DNA, right? We got 2 strands. Some are being born now with 3 strands, but we actually got 12 strands, and those are awakening in this awakening process that we're all going through. So bravo us. The next thing is that often 1 out of 8 times is the estimate, and depending on where you live, because I'm thinking about there's yams in Africa, and there's tribes in Africa that have a high propensity of twins. And you're like, what's up? And they're eating this particular yam. And I used to tell, you want to get pregnant, ladies, eat yams. You want twins, eat yams, because of the hormone, whatever the chemical name for it, that they got it. But you can Google it and figure it out. But anyway, we got a disappearing twin issue. And when that twin disappears, it is absorbed into the other body of the existing twin. I'm a disappearing twin. And it finally realized to me why the masculine and feminine energies are so strong in me that sometimes I'm like, all right, I know I'm working from my left brain. I know I'm, the competitiveness, that energy, the ability to kill and just go, get that anger and that violence that I could touch into and not do what I would call a feminine style or a passive style of taking it inward, but expressing it outward. And there's other markers of disappearing twins, being a stare into mirrors, and just looking for someone. And I remember that as a child. I just thought it was just because I was crazy. But it was I'm looking and trying to talk to that other person in there. And it's like, there's more going on in there than I can see, but that looked like the best window to look. And my affirmations have been always about meditate in front of a mirror and look until you like what you see. Because often if we have a low self-esteem issue, we've got to start there and going, okay, I got to look at myself before I can talk to myself. And going back to the TED Talk I listened to before I started the class today, the young lady was about give yourself permission to ask the questions. Give yourself permission not to be shamed by even being embarrassed to bring it up, because that's where we have been stuck, and that's where our culture has held us back. So let me go back to what do we know about the basics of our system sexuality. It's got neural clusters, bottom line. So our sexual organs, like our heart, like our livers and our other instinctual organs, like the pituitary and pineal gland in the spiritual realms, those glands, they have neural clusters. So your sexual organs have them too. Brain clusters, they have a purpose. They are designed to do stuff. They go places. They're doing things. And you can see this, and there's enough video out there, and this is stuff I got in the U.S. before I left, and that's been 6 years ago, looking at this information and looking at what have we learned about our sexuality. And there's a cool video that it was Discovery Channel where they showed, they put the dye in the woman and put her under a MRI and had a man ejaculate inside her, and then they watched the ejaculate the sperm, move up the uterus, and then at one point, because the egg was up here that had dropped, you could see the sperm going this way. Everybody turns right or left to your screen. I don't know how that's looking. So it was like, oh, they got instructions. They knew where to go. I was like, see, men can follow instructions. So don't be telling me that you can't. I've seen it. So they made it up the path and knew where they were going. Because the egg from a female drops every other side each month. So one side is the right side that aches because it's dropped the egg. The next month is the left side that aches because it dropped it, or vice versa. I don't remember how it goes. So, but pain associated with, you can always track it somehow. And so you can look at and pay attention to your own body and watch what's going on with that. But you get an egg on each side. So how did I learn this? When I had to have a myomectomy. I had an ovarian tumor from taking the horse, not Premarin, the birth control one that lasts 9 months. Not Premarin, I forgot the name of it. Who knows the name of that birth control? Come on, who knows that one? It is the one they gave to animals that they started giving to African Americans. And my doctor was OBGYN, was an African American, so she started shooting me up with it, and it was really good. So I was not complaining. But it stopped your periods, so it was really affecting your physical systems on a major way, and later, 2 years later, gave me cancer. So it's a strong birth control. Oh no, I'm losing my word. Hey, Ms. Elizabeth. Because of the birth control, I got the ovarian tumor, and so when I had the myomectomy surgery to remove the tumor, he took out the ovary, and that's when I learned, okay, now you're going to have the issue. You're going to have one egg that'll still drop, but it's going to pop and hit scar tissue, and it won't stick. I'm like, oh, so he said, you won't you'll have a very difficult time having children, which he was right, because it was like 10% shot of the stuff working, and I went, okay, never mind. However, later I learned the ovary grew back, and that's another story. But okay, so one egg drops one side, the other, each every other month. Now for men, we got sperm counts, and sperm count issues unfortunately have declined 60% over the last 40 years. And so we're not shooting out, on average it was 200 to 500 million, so I was taking an average of 300 million, or the population of India that was coming out every time, or the population of the US, we're at 327 million. So that drop of 60%, fellas, you're about probably under 100 million ejaculates every time. And you can test your fertility, you can test your sperm if you are concerned about that, to see what's coming out and what's working. And if you paid attention to my AI talk, there are 3 different types of robotic sperm helpers, shall we say. And they are designed, because if the sperm gets weak, it just kind of spins around and kind of goes crazy. Woody Allen has probably the best visuals from his Everything You Wanted to Know About Sex and I Was Afraid to Ask. And there's little screws that kind of spin around and they're kind of nanobot size, so they find the sperm, get behind it, and kind of push it along. It's like little sperm helpers. There's another one so there's 2 of them designed to do that, but there's a third one that's a bio blend. It's more the transhuman, because the other 2 drop off when the head reaches the egg. The other one connects itself to the sperm, and so it goes inside the egg. So then you are actually getting a transhuman creation and a transhuman fetus that's starting to begin. So I don't want to talk about that one yet, but and so be careful with the nanotechs there. And nanobots for sperm have been around for the last 5 years, and they're using them to really either deliver drugs or medicine, or put together a transhuman baby. So that was the direction that the folks that are manipulating this planet are doing. And now that we have the opportunity to know what's going on with our bodies, we can probably do something about it. So that's the good news, and I'll be working on that one next, but that's more research. And keeping up with the research has really become a full-time job, which is why this book, Owning Masculinity, is not done yet. Because as I'm doing review copies, and if you want to review a copy, please contact me. And yes, you'll get it now. You'll get the Google Doc, so you've got to read that one. But A, you got to be a fast reader, and B, you've got to give me a review, please. So I'd love to have your comments. Again, as I have done the 5th review, I said I'm not a writer, I'm a rewriter. And so as I'm finishing up more than I've learned about anatomy and what we can do about it today, I don't want this book to be dated a year after I get it done, and the way what we've learned so far, it just keeps going quicker and quicker. So I'm picking up where we're at. So now let's go back and look at what is breaking down our systems. And disassociation is the biggest one. And I wrote this in 2015 when I first started doing this research. And my notes here about brain disassociation, now on the female side, I talk about the lack of the feminine sexual intelligence connecting with the mental or the intellectual. And the reason that is because of programming. That prefrontal cortex has been taken over, hijacked is really the only word to say about that. And that's because we have been told that viewing sexual porn, for example, and the example I use is from another video I saw on watching women on watching porn, and they measured her sexual stimulus and her brainwave activity. And after 20 minutes of watching porn, she came off and said, no, I wasn't turned on at all. However, the electrodes that were both attached to both areas said, yes, you are. And that disassociation that was happening with the feminine was looking at whatever our mind is telling us is in contradiction to our bodies. The problem comes when you are communicating desire or not. Women flirt and are not conscious that they're flirting. So that's the problem with our consent issues, that we are sending out messages we're not aware of. However, on the masculine, since working on the book Owning Masculinity, I've learned of PTCD, which is post-traumatic circumcision disorder. And what happens with that is another type of disassociation. And I was going to do a little meme on that of a sleeping baby, but it was just too painful to do. And the meme would say, babies don't fall asleep during circumcision, they disassociate. They have to go so inward that it puts the body into shock. And so they just check out. And nurses will tell you, if you can get them to be honest, that the pain is that traumatic. So because of that, they're focused on making it a lie. That's the bottom line, it's still a lie. And that disassociation causes alexithymia. And I cannot, at this point, and I'm hoping to interview Dr. Burke Harris, who has just gotten to be the state Surgeon General for the state of California. So congratulations, Dr. Harris, or Dr. Burke Harris, or Harris Burke, I hope I didn't get that wrong, sorry, on that position. That has never been done for the state of California. And she created her and her partners and her work, the ACS, which is the Adverse Childhood Experiences Test, which the CDC does cover. And just circumcision alone is enough to gives you a score of adverse childhood experiences. These are the ones that cause trauma. These are the ones you have to address in your life to heal your own body of trauma. The purpose of my being here, heal thyself, because you will know thyself more. The worst thing that can happen with a disassociation and a trauma at an early age is that you don't know what happened, so you don't even understand life. 8 days doesn't really make a difference, because if it's done for a religious reason. As a manhood right as a child, they know what they're getting into and they know it's going to be painful. So I'm not talking about the cultural issues. I'm just talking about the physicality of what is happening to the body. When you don't know and you're not prepared, it is trauma. Boom. So that disassociation is a big one. And alexithymia is probably the biggest issue that has not been studied enough. There are studies. ALEXITHYMIA. Look it up. It is the inability to feel emotions or sense them. And it's the deer in the headlights for the masculine, meaning they cannot connect to the emotions that are being expressed to them, at them, passively suggested that men are not getting. We have blamed them for being don't get it thick, whatever, heartless, careless. They have alexithymia, and we have pointed our fingers and realized as women, what's wrong with this man? He has alexithymia. That's what's wrong. Heal that, and we can. So let me move on. I'm getting on my soapbox already. All right. The other breakdown, again, are the phosphorus systems, any preserved meats, salamis, phosphorus. Hey, Vicky. The calcium. Circumcision hardens the foreskin that is remaining, or the skin that's remaining, and the skin that's remaining is the back of the skin. So if you rub your hand, feel that skin. It doesn't, not too bad, kind of like everything else, but then flip, and then that same gentle movement makes you tickle. That's the skin that was removed. It's the most sensitive part of the body, and that's the part it's like, ow, they need that. And it's like having your clitoris removed. Same, period. It desensitizes you, and there's only 3 religious groups that mainly do it: Christian, Jews, and Muslims. And Muslims do it to their women as well. But the ideal is to desensitize Christian and Jews, the Hasidic Jews in particular. The women, they can't show their hair. They've got to defeminize. Christianity does the same thing. Defeminize. Don't show the feminine. Restrain it so that it is not in your face, because that's the only control method it's to have. Mr. Kellogg and his brothers, and Mr. Post, and Mr. Graham from Graham Crackers and C.W. Post cereals, and the Kellogg's brothers. They were Victorian brothers from the Seventh-day Adventist movement who were anti-sex, and they wanted to, and they lobbied and successfully lobbied for circumcision to be done as a medical practice, and Medicaid covered it for many years. But their goal was to shut down your sexual drive. And they got doctors to start using circumcision, because it wasn't done in America, because we had religious freedom. And then he got doctors to start doing it to punish boys for masturbation. So it was a tool. Until then, remember what was the movie? Who remembers the movie? Thanks, Elizabeth. What was the movie about the guy who created the vibrator? Because women who would have hysteria attacks. I'm like, yeah, you hadn't had an orgasm all your life, you kind of go crazy. So, and Dr. Oz says women are supposed to have orgasms every 48 hours if you want to keep your sexual drive, because you get oxygen and nutrients every time you have an orgasm, ladies. So, and you can never get enough. You can't use your vibrator, so you have to practice other methods of staying healthy, because it's like going to the gym and just doing one arm rep over and over again. It makes the other parts weak. So that's we'll get to that. Okay. All right. So the other issue that gets in the way is porn. I'm going to talk about that. And the other than the chemical onslaughts, we have first we got to realize we're an environmentally toxic planet right now. Our Earth ship that is moving around the galaxy is not in good shape, and us surface humans are suffering from it. And unfortunately, our better living through chemicals has been around over 80 years, and we have had to deal with it. And my last partner, his father died from cancer from working in a aspirin plant. That was the first signs of this stuff will kill you. And guess what? That was one of the things I saw in the LA Times. You remember the newspapers when they have the little side blurbs and just a lot of times they were corrections of stories. But there was one in LA Times, this is like 2010-ish, somewhere around that. And it was a correction or a little admittance that the LA Times hadn't put in about the makers of Viagra are also the makers of Bayer. And if you take that one, remember Bayer aspirin a day that they were recommending for heart disease to keep the blood flowing, it causes erectile dysfunction. And they've got the pill for that too. So they had you coming and going. But the allopathic medicine of Western medicine was built by the pharmaceutical industry. So they made pills, and so they needed to find problems to make a solution for them. It seemed like a harmless thing at the time, but it was quite a difficult and dark thing that they did, and we have been sucker punched because of it ever since then. So chemicals have been hurting us for a long time, and the side effects have never been fully explained to us. So the hardening of our bodies and the phosphorus, which has made us, has desensitized us spiritually and made our sexual organs grow. And I remember living in El Paso, Texas in the 70s and 80s, and there was a news story about the maquiladoras, the twin plants that were in the Juarez side of the border. And they were dumping all of their, Johnson & Johnson was there. I shouldn't name names, but they're probably still there. Ford, all these major industrial plants were there. And they would dump in the river. And the rivers would foam up with pollutants. I mean, we'd have 5 feet of foam from the pollutants they were in. So we're going, okay, there's detergents and other things, but the water was oily, it was grimy, the fish were dead, it was killing. And then the farms, they were doing the same thing, and the runoff from the farms were going down. And the children who were downriver from those, all of a sudden at the age of, it was the 9-year-olds that I'm remembering, that they were starting to develop breast. And we went, well, that's early, but the species had started to change, that because of the hormones that we were putting in the cows to make them bigger, produce more milk, boom, it was jumped the species, and it was happening to us. So all of our milk has started to do that. And because of mad cow, and we understand the processes of mad cow, it has done the same because we've done it with the chemicals. So whatever the mama eats, the baby eats. Whatever the milk the cow gives, we get it too. And so we got the hormones, we got the pesticides, we got the herbicides, we got it all, and we've had them for generations. So if you're under the age of 50, you got a highly toxic soup going on in your body. And for the older you are, the luckier you are, because you had less of it. Now me, as the bright child I was not, when the DDT trucks went driving by, we thought it was cool. So we drove our little bicycles through the fog more than once. So I could see how I gave myself my own exposure to cancer, because I just sprayed myself with DDT several times and got heavy doses of it. But I got better, and I figured out how to get myself and turn off my cancer genes that we all get. So what do we do about it? Wait, I got to tell you some. Let's tell you some other things about sexuality in the boys, because the boys have got some really cool stuff going on. All right, so you got about 100 million sperm release. Let's talk about the maturity of sperm, because that's one of the things that it gets messy with the dating story. And most people don't want to hear this when I say you really should date 2.5 months before you have sex. And wear a condom if you're not, okay? And here's why. Because we have this thing called pheromones, right? We've heard about the oxytocin, serotonin, estrogen, all of those little babies floating around. Well, they have purpose. They have they got stuff to do, and we can stimulate them wrongly when we do that. And the reason why you want to wait is because there is serotonin that is released at the back of the right side of the brain for a man when he climaxes. Okay? Until then, adrenaline and testosterone, I can never do that one right. Like oral, I'm never good at that either. Anyway, where was I? Are the drivers. And like adrenaline, it's like, get the girl, get the girl, get the girl, get the girl. And get lucky, be funny, do what it takes. You could get lucky. And that's how the mind has been trained. It is pursue it. It is competitive. It is go get it. Right on. Don't fault them. Right on. I'm glad it's happening. I'm glad it's still working, because when it's not, that's a whole nother problem. But because it's in its pursuit mode, the nose smells differently. You smell differently as the person being pursued. And he is smelling his own adrenaline and testosterone coursing through his body. However, when he gets a serotonin release, his brain relaxes and the body relaxes. So then you smell different. And you may not smell pleasant to him, because it is a nose thing. We instinctually are triggered by our nose, because it is designed to be the first warning system. And that first warning system will tell you if you're attracted, if you should run, if you should fight, if you should relax, if you should be attracted or should be fear. So that's what it's designed to do. It's the biggest brain we've got, and it works by sensory glands. We have 4 olfactory lanes just for smelling those areas. And so when it's turned on, it's working. And when it's turned off, it's relaxed. And then it smells the world differently. And you are part of that world. And then they go, oh, either I like the smell or I don't like the smell. And you will know if that's the one. And guys, if you got any guys watching, please am I correct on that one? Give me a thumbs up, please, if you're listening at this point. Because that's kind of the aha moment that a lot of guys come to. And I'm like, that's why you put on the condom. Because you've just infected that woman with your pheromones. And there's an addiction. Thank you. Thank you. There's an addiction that happens. You just gave her your cooties. How about that? Remember that? And like a cat rubbing on you, marking, pissing, you know how dogs do? Yeah, you did it. And now that it's there, she's got to incorporate that in her body. Now, yes, if she's got spermicides and you've got spermicides, and I'll talk about your spermicides in a minute, to do blockers. But here's the thing. If she's had an orgasm, it's going to be a lot easier for your sperm to get up to her egg. So if she's had a good time, then that addiction becomes permanent. And it's like, ooh, that's a big oops, right? Pregnancy, that was not what we planned, but we did not plan for non-pregnancy, so voila. And secondly, you cause an addiction. And so she's going to be using her cell phone going, where he at? Where he at? Let's get some more. Even if the sex is bad, there's still an addiction that happens because you have merged your pure essence. Bottom line, that's the best you got. That's your life. That's your gold coins, baby. You giving out your gold coins. And if you're just, leaving them on the computer screens, you're wasting your gold coins, but you got gold coins. And here's why they're gold, because you got about 13,000 gold coins. On average, a man has 13,000 spermicidal ejaculations. Okay? Did y'all hear that? Okay. 13,000. Now, go ahead, fellas, do the math. So if you've started your porn-induced sexuality lifestyle early, like 13, normal, and you've had 6 to 10 ejaculations a day based on that early start, by the time you're 20, you've got to worry about PIDE, porn-induced erectile dysfunction. It's a thing. It's a real thing. And because of that, that's why nanobots are here. For the guys that are left, the weak ones, nanobots. Let's do that. What can we do that? Can we help them along? So, again, allopathic medicine, hey, we got a solution. Let's create a problem. Well, we can create the problem if we get them focused just on the porn. And that's why the positions have got to be that's right in your face, because it's got to make you jump into the screen and make your dick jump, dicknesses. I'm going to leave that alone. You will just get you right into it. And, personal confession, porn has replaced vibrators because speed and because of my hands hurt. I'm tired. I can't rub it anymore. There is a natural, I'm doing a natural overstimulation of a hormonal fight because I'm postmenopausal. I had early induced menopause because of chemotherapy, so I'm a little pissed about losing it at 45. I'm like, wait a minute, it's too early. I'm almost 60. I'm like, okay. I'm past the expiration date of normal. 55 is normal when it starts declining by 80%. So ladies, don't beat yourself up. We're normal. And given we live in a toxic environment, and if you've gone through chemo, your immune, endocrine, and fertility systems have been damaged. And the fertility system damaging is why we see the high influence of transgenderism in our species today, because it messes with our DNA, changes our DNA. It's not what it used to be, and it's kind of quirky nowadays. So the studies are showing it, so you can check those out. And I did a talk about that some time ago. So here's a good news, though. The male sperm that moves fast, it takes about 45 minutes to reach an egg. Remember, it gets instructions, so turn left, turn right. However, female sperm can stay in the vagina 5 days. Yeah, that's a long time, baby. That's a few showers later or a couple partners later, depending how lucky you are. And it is, so that's why the spermicides come in. So the male ejaculate is broken up into 3 sections. And the first section, it has a spermicide that's designed to kill anybody else that was there. And then the last third has another spermicide it leaves behind to kill anybody that might try to show up later afterwards. Smart stuff. So it shoots through in the middle, guys, with glucose, because once you remove the sperm, you still get the glucose, which is the ejaculate real juice, sugar, to get you up the channel. And women will release glucose during excitement, but you really get a shot of glucose when she ejaculates. And so female ejaculation is a thing. It's not pee, it's sweet, it's glucose. So if you're a squirter, right on, sister. Please don't mess up my hotel room bed, though. Be neat about it. Excuse me. Horchata. Thought it was appropriate today to have something red. Okay, what else can I tell you? All right, so spermicides, it'll last 5 days. Why you use a condom? If you don't want to, and here's the downside. Men who are listening, your mom probably had an orgasm with your conception. Ladies, our mamas stuck it out. So that's why we're strong. We were like, oh no, we're going to come anyway. So good for us. All right. Competitive advantages. Yep. All right. So maturity of sperm, 72 days or 2.5 months. Why? Because like everything, it grows like hairs. You get the baby fine hairs, but when you want something long, it's going to take something to get something long. So 2.5 months, you could probably shave your head. Ooh, that'd be kind of cool. Shave your head when you meet a new woman, or just get something cut so we can measure it. And when it's 2.5 months later, you'll both know. How about that as a shaved head challenge? Lisbeth, hook me up, girl. Let's do the shaved head challenge. You know, when it's ready to happen, when your body is ready for sex, because those hairs are going to grow in tune with each other. What's coming out that you produce from that body, good way to measure it yourself. So I have initiated a challenge. I can't believe some of the things that come out of my own mouth sometimes. All right. What can I tell you? Oh, 60% of semen is glucose, so it does get a shoot. Let's talk about sperm and its taste. Metallic, to me, is the most part. So I'm like, metallic is not good. So, gentlemen, if you're not tasting your own, taste it. If you got metals, you got a problem. Viscosity, the stickiness. Women have learned to do this. That you can tell the different times of your cycle by the stickiness, or you can tell the house of your cycle. Smell is one thing, but a lot of times it's just food related. What do you eat? If you don't know your blood type, I can't tell you just eat this, eat that. I can tell you if you eat pineapple, your sperm and your urine will taste sweet because it's a sugar that it breaks down nicely. Now, the opposite is true if you eat asparagus. Ooh-wee. Don't do asparagus. It's rough on everybody afterwards. It's worse coming out than it is going in. So asparagus, avoid that one before sex, please. But pineapple, go for the pineapple. And what's I was going to tell you about that. The taste, the issues that you got to look at. What's going to cause meat is not a good thing for your sperm. It makes them heavy, makes them sluggish. So it's not. You want healthy sperm. You really got to fast and detox and do those things. That's really if you're going to protect your sperm because it's your golden package, bro. So. And you want to do, and ladies with your eggs, every 30 days you got a new set being developed. And ladies only get, let me give you the numbers on the eggs. You got a limited supply as well on eggs. Let's see, your egg count. 2 million are created, but only 450 mature. Phew. So one a month. Phew. Phew. So in an average lifespan, you get 450 cycles of eggs dropping down. That seems like a lot to me. That's a lot of periods. That's a lot of pads. I'm like, 450 cycles in a lifetime? Ooh. All right, but that's it. And it takes 4 millimeters per minute, the speed of a sperm going up a canal. So 45 minutes to get to the egg is what its average take, or 3 to 5 days for female. Lifespan, menopause starts naturally in the masculine at the age of 25. You start getting a decline of sperm count. So that's your eggs starting to drop. Your sperm counts are starting to drop naturally. In female, the eggs are going to drop because you got your 450 at 45. Dropping. Now, when you start having baby cravings, like age of 36, 38, when it's kind of, and this is when my body was going through, it was like, they all started smelling good. And that was the thing that really alerted me to something had changed in my body, because I was never a baby person. They were from a distance, they were good. But at a certain age, all of a sudden I was like, I want to hold one. And I'm like, woo, and I like them. But it passed. But I realized that was the eggs. It's like you get a last call for alcohol with the eggs when it starts getting empty and they're telling you these are the last good eggs are dropping. The craving for mating gets really strong. And the other thing we need to realize is that men have more cycles than women. Men have 3 cycles, women have 1 that we've been able to document, and I'm sure I will be looking and learning something else about our more cycles about that. The 28-day typical cycle of a female based on our moon, based on our water planet cycles of how our tides flow. However, men, much smarter, bear than we've given them credit for. 3 cycles, a 24-hour clock where their testosterone levels are much higher. That's why morning sex is the best sex for making babies, because the body is allowed to rest, recuperate, the whole bit. The sperm has gotten healthier and gotten stronger while it's rested. And then there is a 21-day clock where men have a 21-day of a high hormonal testosterone cycle, and then it drops conveniently during your cycle. So if you're mated, and I found my first husband could tell when my cycle was starting. And I don't know if he was aware of his own. I made my second partner be aware. I'm like, I can tell when yours is starting too. But he could understand my cycles and could tell me. It was a little embarrassing, but I appreciated that he could sense cycles. And then I realized men have them too, and so their 21 days allows them to go have cave time, because women should be having their red tent time, because this is your most creative period. This is the time you should write. It is a difficult one for the body because the body can be in pain. You can control that with diet. Stay away from chocolate and caffeine is your first rule when you're starting the cramping. Exercise more because the body is trying to shed, and so it's stuck, and that's where you're getting the pain. If you have a prolapse vagina, these are for moms, that's where, I can't really give you the box, but okay, so let's just say this is the uterus area, and if you had a baby, it's expanded, and then when it collapses, it's kind of got this flat skin, and it'll go this way, this way, this way, and it's painful for sex. And so this is tab A, slot B. If you're a prolapse, let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. And if you're going this way, you're hitting wall faster, and it's painful. It's just like, ow, ooh. You're not hitting where it should be going this way. So you've got to change positions. Boom. You got to know your own body so you can understand what's going on with your skin. It's like, things are flapping on the outside. You adjust. Like when you get pinched, your hair gets pulled. It's like, do that. Change your body position. So that's where it matters what's gone on with your body, what scars, what surgeries you've had. Back to the masculine on the surgery side. So circumcision is your biggest one. And if you've dressed to the left or dressed to the right, that means the skin was pulled too far to the left or too far to the right. So you don't have an even. If it's, I've seen guys with, so how am I going to demonstrate a penis? Okay, let's do it this way. Is that right? No. Yeah, let's, how many? Hand puppets. I need hand puppets. Somebody make me hand puppets. Help me out here. Okay, let's stick with this one. Let's say the penis should be coming out straight at a 45-degree angle. If the skin is pulled too much, it's going to come out, it'll go this way. It's been pulled too much. It doesn't go enough high. If it's pulled too much at the top, it's painful to get to this erection. So men are now, we're hearing the medical stories of men coming out with, every time they have an erection, their skin tears, or painful erections is from, because it's too tight, and they've pulled too much skin off that they need. And remember, we can have up to 5 inches, up to 12 inches if we've had, big men who have had their lots of skin removed, foreskin. And it's about the size of an index card because it's been wrapped around and they've just pulled it off. And what's been left behind is the exposed raw skin that's not supposed to be exposed to flesh. And I can always see when a man is uncomfortable or his skin is being irritated by his circumcised skin is being irritated because he's always pulling on his pants. It's like, tight, too tight. And they've got to let air flow is what we were told, because you got to let the balls stay cool because they don't want to get too hot. There is a temperature that they're supposed to be at. I forgot what the temperature is, but keep the balls cool. Tight shorts kills the eggs or kills the sperm, so keep it cool. Let them get as much air. Your ball sacks need to have a thin membrane around them that keeps everybody together. And they come up together, but it's a thin membrane, and that damage you can feel when their pressure is put upon them. But they get heated too, and that makes people die, and that's not good. And that makes a smell when they come out because the thing's dead in there. Blue balls are real too. Things have been up, down, up, down. However, there's a good thing with blue balls that you can really use that energy, and I'll talk about that a little later on, so hold on. Okay, so I said, and then the final, the third cycle of the masculine is the time of the year. And I always get this one turned around, so I had to go back to my book and get it again. And it varies northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. So here's the basis. Our bodies are designed, we are seasonal mammal beings. It is better for our seasonal mammal beings to have children during the spring and summer months, right? So that our 9 months of pregnancy should start in the winter months so that we can stay warm, keep the baby alive, and then have more summertime to keep, a lot of times, I remember reading a lot of times farmers, they would lose their children in the fire. And what that meant was they would keep a baby by the fire in the hearth of the home, and the baby would roll into it accidentally and then burn up and die. So that was sad, but trying to keep the baby warm. So it was better if you were a farming community, as we kept the baby strapped on your back because it was too dangerous to leave a baby on its own. So we have gotten better. We know better, we do better. In this one, I think we need to have well, that's what we call video. We can record it and send it to your partner, baby. But I might get this one you're referring to. Okay, so the season is your sperm counts are going to be higher in the fall and winter months so that you can have healthy babies in your spring, summer. So wherever, I'm winter in South America, so we should be making babies right now in South America. So come on down, fellas. I'm single and available again. But I'm not looking for babies, so don't worry. We're good. Good news. All right, so that's what I wanted to tell you about that. Let's get to demand versus supply. I did talk about 40 and 45. Your counts start going down for ladies, at 25 for men. The environmentals. What are we going to do about the environmentals that are going to slow us down? Clean up as much as you can. Really, I don't want to say don't worry about it. There is a technology available for us. Is that Miss Mira? Hey, girlfriend, I know that pink Ebony anywhere. How you doing, girl? Unless you're eating your food out of a hothouse from well water that has not been exposed by the radioactivity in the air, you're good, because it's about what we're taking in our bodies that has really come down. Our 5G is kind of the last nail on the coffin, but our environmental air, water, food has really made it a tough road to hoe. The good news is we don't have to stay here. We get 5D optimization life, which is why my Phyllis Raleigh is about optimized life, optimizing your life, which is really matters in a environmentally polluted world. So how do you do that? You supplement up. I live on one of the few places in the planet that the water is good. It's Hunza, Pakistan, and Vilcabamba. And there's a couple reasons for that. The Yang protective mountains and the 4 rivers that converge into a vortex, giving us a yin-yang vortexal power. There's fancier words to that. Penny Kelly has done a lot of work in studying that, and she's just come out with a new book looking at some of these issues. This is a woman that kept having Kundalini experiences over and over and over again. And I have had one, and that was enough, because that was like a freight train running through your body of like, whew, really? That's what that's about? Pleasurable, pleasurable is not the right word. It's like a tease that it started from an orgasm. So it was like, oh, good. But then it got out of control power. And I describe it as, remember the Wile E. Coyote in the cartoons, and when he had an anvil dropped on his foot and the steam came out of his ears and his eyes popped out? That's what a Kundalini experience feels like. It's just like all the pipes got opened up, and it's like a flood pipe of this flood of light, energy, water power going through the body. And all I knew it to do was instinctively just to take all this energy and just kind of ground it back in the body. I was like, what was that? And it wasn't about who it was with or where it was with, because they were not relevant. But that it happened, and everything changed from then. It just turned on, and the staff that the medical profession uses with the snakes serpentining around them is probably the Western visual of what that, when those crosses meet, those are those chakra points that waken up and they turn on the lights in there. And then we see who's home. And when all of them get turned on, it's like, whoa, oh, that's how this is supposed to work. And that's when things started making sense to me, and that's when they started connecting the dots. And I needed to look at all of these 5 intelligences of the body and go, oh, wait, something's going on here. Instinctually, I started recognizing it when problems in my relationship showed up. It was a pain in my gut first. And I could go, oh, the cats wouldn't want to hang around us when we were fighting. You know, one animal would come and hang up close to another, and it was like, whose side are you on? You know, that kind of experience. So it was one of those awakening to the body and paying attention to it on a level that I didn't know existed. And so I wanted to look at these things with you and go, look at your body very differently. Look at it in its holistic manner of what it's here to teach you. And everybody's got such unique stories, but a lot of similarities. And then it's not until we have permission to talk about them is why I'm in business, basically. So it's like, okay, we got to talk about this because you don't know what you don't know, and you got to know thyself more. And so it's really about learning as much as you can about yourself so that you can do better. Know better, you do better. All right, so what I wanted to tell you, though, before I got away from men and blue balls, is that in the kink community, we have a thing called edging. And edging is this 80-20 rule. You take the orgasmal energy up to 80%, and then you drop down to 20%, you calm down. And you do that, you cycle that. Now, men do that in their masturbation cycles because you want to make the experience last more than 2 minutes. And so you take it up and then you take it down. You take it up, you take it down. I don't, but women's bodies are built differently. We can do the edging process, and that works for us the same. I'm just don't. Personal confession. I have the knowledge. That don't mean I always use it all the time, but I've done enough orgasms and I do my practice in another way that I can work this out. But now that I think about it, I think I will do some more of that. So I wanted to read to you the list of what you do for edging and what it does for you. And I got this from Dr. Jewel Pookrum, who does a wonderful series, and she's probably 8-10 years ago, on understanding our sexual health. So the first one is, the first cycle will strengthen and exercise the body. And this is that edging cycle. The second one is strengthens and energizes the eyes and the ears. The third cycle strengthens the immune system and slows the aging process. You want to look young forever. That way you don't have to do penis facials, which are expensive, cannibalistic, and violent. Fourth time you do it, strengthens the internal organs. Fifth time, enhances circulatory system, and it prevents strokes and varicose veins. Varicose veins, you need to at least do an edging cycle 5 times if that is your medical issue. Heal thyself with sex. How about that? That'll be my new thing. 6, bones and prevents arthritis. 7, tones the muscles. 8, develops a very strong aura. Oh, that's interesting. If you can see auras, that's a nice thing. People could see my auras and they said they call it purple. I was like, blue purple. I went, okay, I can't see them, but they could. And 9 heads off all sickness. And 10 and beyond, if you can do 10 and beyond, you develop your psychic skills. You can become a psychic by masturbating enough. How about that? This is a cool system we have built in. Use it. So, developing your clairs, like clairvoyance, which is clear seeing, clear knowing, clairsentience. There's 8 of them. We all have these clairvoyant abilities. So, practice your edging, ladies and gentlemen. That should be your takeaway tip for today, is doing your practice. All right, so let me go back and let's talk about what do you need to do for the body. Oh, okay, I'm not going through all of that. This takes too long. I'm going to look at your Chinese medicine, which is why I do your Chinese medical astrological charts, to look at the body, the 5 elements of know your Chinese animals, your metal, wood, fire, water, and because they will affect your sexual organs as well. And they will, as well as Wi-Fi, as well as cell phones. And you better not be putting the cell phone anywhere near your organs, anywhere near your bodies. It should be not attached to your body ever in storage. So you need a man bag. That's a bag that you put away from your body. Salt, iodized salt is not good. Do not do it. And I'm a chip lover. So I try to do my own so I could do real sea salt instead of iodized, which is it's not real salt, bottom line. It's cheaper than sea salt, so which is why they sell it to us. But it's not good for your nothing. It's not good for anything. Okay, the other thing you need to know if you're a smoker or a drinker. If you are, again, knowing your animal element, if you should not be drinking alcohol because it toxifies your liver, then make your drug of choice smoking versus, and if you got weak lungs, you should be drinking instead of smoking. So pick your drug of choices carefully. Now, and of course, sugar, antidepressants, and marijuana is bad for your sperm. So too much weed, you'll get lazy and happy. It's the same as nicotine, and it gives you the munchies, but it makes your sperm, it slows them down. That's why you need the nanobots to make your sperm move up faster, because if you smoke marijuana or anything, it slows down your sperm. So now you know. So don't do that. Alcohol. Constant consumption, you know who you are, of alcohol causes shrinkage to the testicle sac and reduces sperm count. So yes, that'll do it too. Sugar, high blood sugar reduces the sperm count, drive, and creates erectile dysfunction. Ow, too much sugar slow you down too. So that's the bad news. Now, what do we do about that? Radioactivity, I covered that. The natural elements to support the body, almonds, raw almonds in particular are best. And let me tell you a story. I had a client, he wanted to talk to me about his uncomfortable erections at the wrong time. I'm like, well, yeah, that's a problem. I'm like, who's the girl? No woman. He's a truck driver. And I'm like, what? And he said, I'll get on the road, stop. I'm trying to be a vegetarian. I'm trying to eat healthy. And when I get back on the road, 20 minutes later, I got a boner so big, I got to pull over and rub one out, which means then I got to take a nap, and which then means I'm behind schedule, and that's not good for business. And I'm like, ow, what are you eating, brother? He said, well, there's not much to eat in 7-Elevens or truck stops around America. So I get what I can. I said, I can find a green apple, I can get a hard-boiled egg, I'll stay away from the glutens, and and raw almonds as a snacks. So we got fruit and nuts and a raw egg and water. And I'm like, it's the almonds. So eating a couple handful of almonds, poof, he was back in business. And so I was like, you gotta find some other nut to bite on. Ba-da-ba, come on. I gotta get a laughter for that one. That was a good one. Okay. Okay. Coffee. Good news. Coffee in small doses increases the speed and the distance. So you want to go the distance with your sperm, little caffeine, little espresso shot before you jump in. Ginseng, we've known about ginseng. Thank you for the love. Ginseng, both Asian and American varieties. That's coming. Increase sexual strengths of the erection. So those are always a good one. They're expensive as all get out though, boy. And I got one more box of my mix here that I'm not giving away cheaply. So I'll tell you about that one later. Maca powder. South America is really good at South American root. It's everywhere here. Very much related to ginseng, and it's cheaper. It enhances libido as well as increases sperm count. Let me also mention there's two things that's going on with erectile dysfunction. It could just be a physical thing that you've chemicalized it or toxined it so things aren't working, or it could be a libido thing, which is an emotional or a more of an estrogen pheromonal reason. Now, so libido shutting down and physical shutdowns you approach differently. So when you're looking for just what do I do for my heart on, or getting attraction with a partner again, that's a whole nother animal. So I'm gonna try to get to that one. So don't let me forget. Cordyceps, that's what I've got. That's what I love. That's another root. Boosts testosterone levels and increases sex drive. So it does both libido and testosterone. So you got the power as well as the desire to do something about it. Black ginger, another. My mix has got cordyceps, black ginger, moringa powder, and jungulin. Black ginger is another one. It's cool. It's just a nice black ginger root. Improves orgasm strength. So this is good for the ladies, and I have a mix for the ladies. And performance, and increases sperm density. So you can see it in the ejaculate. You'll get a thicker ejaculate versus the creamy or thinner watery one, because you can see that it is working. Take your black ginger, baby. Once you go black, you should never go back. Okay, and then horny goat weed, which is that little nasty little weed that we see everywhere. Pick that stuff, dry it, rinse it, boil it, drink it. It is the best thing for you. Horny goat weed. Everybody got horny goat weed, maybe in Antarctica and Greenland, but it's good for you. Good for the sex drive, grows everywhere. It's those nasty multi-headed stickers, so you can find those. And it's good to juice. You can juice it as well, but I make it as a tea. Zinc, if you can get your hands on some zinc, increases sperm count. And time. So if you got a little you come too fast, a little zinc will slow you down. And it helps with prostate cancer. So any of the mineral elements are good. And then Damiana. Damiana is great you can see Damiana grows everywhere in Thailand. And it's great for increasing pleasure in men. It is a stimulant, which I think more men need. Damiana is a good one for enjoying the pleasure instead of it, especially if you had circumcision, then it really expands the pleasure throughout your body. And here's what's important to know. You can get an orgasm from just doing this, okay? Your sexual organs are not required for having an orgasm experience, because we can teach quadriplegics how to have orgasms. It is all up here, baby, and you can develop that. It does take exercise. It does take working with a somatic body workers are probably the best ones, but tell them you want to learn something specific. Be very clear about what you're asking for. Never, ever assume because you're going to a sex therapist, psychologist, whatever, they are going to get you unless you be really specific about what you need and what your longing, ache, desire, accomplishments, what you're trying to get. You got to be clear, baby. As my ex used to say, you don't ask, you don't get. So make sure and ask the questions so you can get what you need. I've gone over, but I'm still going because we're almost done. Oh, let's talk about exercises. So we need to move our bodies, and our bodies, like our eyes, and if you wear glasses, you should be doing baits, rubbing palms, pressing hard, going up and down, looking that way, strengthen the eyes, because wearing glasses weakens your eyes. So if you want to go down into prescriptions, do eye exercises. If you want to tighten your loose vagina muscles or strengthen your penis, do the same. You've got to do the exercises. I have a video on Facebook. It's $5.55. I think is the price I put on it. To learn the exercises. These are for the yoni. I need a male model, and my next workaway, you might be it, is going to be the video I do for showing you the lingam exercises or the penis exercises. But you can Google those too, and those are available. You may have to go to a couple porn sites, but there's some good ones up there about doing exercise. Really stretching, moving, pulling, lifting, pressuring against and doing putting pressure against and pushing against, that kind of Kegels, that's what that is about, and learning different type of Kegel exercises. So using those muscles and different body lifts so that you strengthen your core, because you can't last long without a strong core, and it's exhausting. So you want a stronger sex life, do the exercises. You got to do the workout for it. They're easy. You can do them in bed 5 minutes before you get it. If you got a yoni egg, even better. And my first yoni egg I sold to a guy. This was fun. He bought it because he had a girlfriend who had one. And he said having sex with her was like having, how does he say it? It was the feeling of his penis it was like this. It was like this kind of movement on his cock. And he was like, wow. So he bought one for his next girlfriend. I was like, good investment, bro. Perfect Mother's Day gift, I say. Right? Mother's Day gift. And there, Adrian, I have the balls for the boys, and that goes up the anus, and you do the same exercises. So everybody got work to do. Everybody got homework. So do your homework. You put them on a string, and you'll see them on my website under toys or tools. I should do a video on how to put them on. I think I did, actually. It's one of my YouTube videos on how to pick a yoni egg to measure yourself for the right size for one. But now I have to chew one on how to string your lingam beads. But I'll do that soon. Thank you for bringing that up. I have tachyon ones, and these are cool. I only affiliate for one company, and those are my tachyon tools because they are man-made crystals, but they are quite powerful little tools, and so go check those out. They emit an energy, so it gives you a vibrational energy. And I didn't really think much of it because I used my jade egg, my rose quartz. I had a bunch of eggs, and I always got Chinese companies trying to sell me more eggs. And you can find them anywhere. I like the kind with a string in them, so I don't have to worry about it. I can pull it out when I want to. Sound like my bouncing? Because I have embarrassed myself by trying to leave it in all day, and I'll be sitting having lunch, and all of a sudden my lips relax, and it slips out. And I'm like, you can't tighten it, squeeze it back in. You can if you catch it soon enough, but you got to strengthen those muscles. So I have been embarrassed, and I've had to let it slide out and catch it so I can go home. But so careful, ladies. Sleep with your yoni egg. Don't wear them out to lunch, and don't try to do this all day. But use them, and do use them. And men, if you can tighten up it's not about tightening up, it's making the muscles work. It's making them flexible. I had a woman play partner I used to play with, and she liked fisting because she had been stretched from having 3 babies, and I could do this. See how big that is? Okay, I did it like that, but I could do that once I got inside. Both fists. My hands are big. See? And then she got pregnant again. And she taught her doctor how to fist her. But the good news that happened was she tightened up. And of course, yes, the baby growing, but because he was able to start doing these exercises inside, going inside the vagina and just stretching those muscles, then that allowed the muscles to start working. They start activating again. So we've just never been taught, it's tight because we don't use it, or it's loose because we don't use it. Either way, your muscles should be strong, not rigid or loose, okay? So that's your exercises. You got to do your exercises. Go home and practice your sexercises. All right. But I do want to mention the age. I want to go back to masturbation for a bit and talk about how often we should be masturbating for the masculine. And this is an old one. This is pre-porn or online porn. And in your 20s, fisting, mana. Yes, ma'am. Fisting is putting your fist inside a vagina or an anus. You can only go so far in a vagina because the box is only about that big, 4 to 6 inches. So you don't really have much room in that area. But in an anus, you can go, I've gone this far. See, not past the elbow, right to the elbow. I've gone that far. Car's eye, thank you. I knew you were going to say that. And then my Thailand friends know exactly what to do, because Car's eye is the Thailand version of doing an anal massage, because it's the same muscles trying to get those babies loose, lighten them up. And so you won't have tight, if you're, especially if your stools are hard and you're not eating proper. And they should be loose, and they should look like an S shape. That's when you have healthy poop. And they shouldn't be floating on the top. They should be sinking down, because that means it's got too much grease in your body. Too much fried foods, they're going to float. It's too much grease. S shape, smooth, boom, healthy. Good poop. Good for you. You're like the toddler pooping in the chair. Yay, good poop. All right, back to masturbation. In your 20s, every day. And now, ladies, this don't apply because you don't have enough orgasms. But men, in your 20s, every day. In your 30s, every week. In your 40s, every month. In your 50s, quarterly. In your 60s, 2 to 3 times a year. And in your 70s, once a year. A moment to think about that. We have definitely been sexualized differently. For optimal health, you're either over or under, or just right on, just right. But for health, this is what the old folks tell us. What else all right, let's go back to what you can be eating in the body. I got the horny goat weed, I got the Damiana, exercises, edging, sinking? What do you mean sinking? Oh, sinking up? Yes, thank you. Gotcha. What else? Okay, there's a real reason to wear a condom. Nature. We're going to talk about, it's too little. It's too little. That's why we can stay healthier. We're not the people. This is old information. This is how it was given to us as a guide. We have been influenced by too many things, and gay men are never going to follow that rule. But let me ask you this, Adrienne, with your partner of years, did you slow down? There should be a natural slowing down or a natural rhythm, or not. When you find your flow and you get in the flow, that's the nice thing about being a gay man. Your flow can be beautiful. There's somebody at my door, y'all. I'm not going to answer it, though, because I'm busy. Go, Mana. 2 times a week, my girlfriend. As I said, women don't have enough. Keep it up, mama. You will stay young. Oxygen and nutrients to all 80 parts of your brain. Keep it flowing. All right, guys. That's really what I got for you. So I do want to mention, I'm really just talking about anatomy today. The next chapter in my book is looking at pedophilia and in our species. And yes, it is natural, unfortunately. And I do have to open my door. I forgot. Hang on a second. I'll be right back. I forgot. I'm showing my apartment. I gotta go, but thank y'all for hanging in. I hope this one is useful. Please share it. Sexual ignorance is really painful, and it ought not be. And we can know better, we can do better. And that is my hope for everyone, that this will be valuable to you and it will bless you and it increase your life. Come on in. I got company, y'all. So namaste. Bye. I'm turning it off, sort of.